We're now going to move on to the username and password recovery processes. In this part of the series, we're going to look at recovering a username, which is slightly easier than recovering a password, because in terms of recovering a password, we don't just want to email the user their password. Obviously you could do, but we're going to force the user to change the password rather than just give them the password. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is then look at the username recovery. So what do we need to do first of all? Well, we need to go ahead and obviously create a page for this. Then we're going to create the menu items that link to the username and the recovery password recovery pages. It's going to work off the same page. We're just going to pass through a different get parameter. So nothing really complicated there. It just means that we don't have to create two pages that essentially do the same thing. So let's go ahead and open up, let's say, forum. We'll just go ahead and copy this and paste this into a new file so we can make use of our template. I'm going to save this as recover.php. Now we need to make a few changes to this recover.php file. We need the logged in redirect function. Now the reason we're using this is obviously to recover a username or password would technically mean the user isn't logged into their account because they're trying to recover their details. So we need to ensure that they're not logged in. It's not a massive problem, but it just keeps any users that are logged in from accessing this page. So I'm going to set the header here to recover, and obviously the contents of our page are going to go here. Let's just go ahead and look at this page now, recover.php. So that's what the recovery page looks like at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and add some links here to recover an email address or a password in a moment, a username or a password in a moment. But just now, I'm going to go ahead and allow this get parameter to be passed, and this is going to look like, and I'll show you what it's going to look like first. It's going to look like mode equals, and it'll either be username or it will be password, and depending on that we'll do different things. And as I said, this just allows us to have one page to do both jobs. So let's go ahead and start to do this first of all. So what do we want to do? Well, we obviously only want to allow username or password recovery, so we need to control these variables that are passed to a page. So I'm going to create a variable here called mode allowed, or modes allowed. Keep it as mode allowed. And this is going to be an array, so much like we've done before for required fields in registration forms, things like that. So this is going to be username and password. So we can use this to check that the posted data or the get data is there and in here. So a quick if statement, and inside here we want to make sure that the get variable mode is set. So if is set of mode is equal to true, and if in array, so we're using the in array function, which takes a value, which will be the get mode, which will either be username and password, username or password. The second parameter here is the array that we're looking in, and that will be mode allowed. And if that's equal to true, that means that that means that the thing that the user has typed here is checked if it's in here. Okay, so if it is, we do something. Otherwise, we can just go ahead and redirect the user off somewhere, because we will assume that they're trying to enter a different value here, because we're going to have links that link to these values. We're not going to ask the user to type them in manually in the URL bar. So I'm just going to link through to index.php and exit there. So if this is all good, we can go ahead and echo. I'm just going to do this for now just to demonstrate, so echo the mode. So click on hit enter on that, and we are recovering username. Change this to password, and we're recovering password. Change this to something else, so for example first name, or it could be anything in here. It just redirects us to index.php, so we're controlling the input that we get through here. So let's go and add some links down here. Let's go ahead and open up includes widgets and login. So this is the logged out state. I'm going to just copy and paste this list item down here, and in here I'm going to pop a little sentence in. So I'm going to say forgotten your username or password, and let's just go ahead and get rid of this link here. So username is going to be a link, and password is going to be a link as well. So now we can link through to the same page. It will be recover.php, but this one will be mode equals username, and this one will be again recover.php, but this time the mode will be password. Okay, so relatively straightforward there. Let's just go ahead and refresh. Here we get forgotten your username or password. Click on username, we get recovery username. Click on password, we get the recovery for password. Straightforward. Okay, so we can get rid of that now because we don't need that open. Now we need to determine what we actually need to do in here. Well, the user needs to enter some kind of data to be able to recover their username or password. In this part of the video we're focusing on the username, so let's stick to that for now. So if the user needs to recover their username, we need to enter an email address. The email address will be validated, i.e. does it exist in the database. We're not going to check if it's a valid email address or not. We don't really need to do this in this case, because if it's invalid it won't exist. So we could check if this email exists, and then we are going to call this recover function, which we're going to be creating inside of one of our function files. So let's go ahead and crack on with this. Obviously we need to build the form here, so I'm just going to break out of PHP and back in there. So in here what I can do is I can go ahead and start to build the form up. So form action equals something, method equals post. So we're combining here post and get data, because we'll be having a post version of the email, but we're going to be keeping the mode in the URL bar. And in here let's go ahead and create an unordered list just to keep this looking nice, how we have it styled. I'm going to say please enter your email address. And I'm trying to keep this as generic as possible, and by that I mean regardless of whether we are recovering the username or we're recovering the password or changing the password, we're going to ask the user for their email address, and that will start that whatever process is required. So enter your email address applies to both. So input type equals text and name equals email. This is just going to be how we identify it. So let's go ahead and create the final list item, and we'll just put a submit button in here, which obviously we need to submit our form. So type is going to be submit, and value is going to be, and we'll just say recover. So let's take a look at this now. I'm going to switch back to mode username, so I'm going to click on username, and now we have please enter your email address. So we type in an email address there. We've got all this rubbish in here. Let's just go and delete this. And we are going to enter an email address like this. Click on recover. We're going to check if it's been set, and then we are going to go ahead and recover, start the recovery process. So in here now we can go ahead and we can say if something. So if is set, obviously, $_post email. So if this has been set, i.e. has the form been submitted, if that's equal to true, and empty $_post email is equal to false, so it has contents, then what do? Well, we need to go ahead and create another if statement, and I'm going to say if email exists, which is a function that we've already created. If we go to our core functions and users, email x, I'll just type, so email exists, we already have this function that we've created, and obviously we pass through the email here. So if that's equal to true, we do something, otherwise we want to do something else. Now because we're not collecting a lot of errors here, I'm just going to go ahead and echo the error out directly. So I'm just going to echo p, enter p tag, and I'll just say oops, we couldn't find that email address. So echo, otherwise we'll just say OK, so we can start to actually test this. So refresh the page. I'm going to enter a load of rubbish in there and click on recover. Oops, we couldn't find that email address. I'm going to enter an email address that is actually registered. So alex@phpacademy.org, click on recover, and it says OK. So now we know that this process is working, we can go ahead and actually start to recover. Now we're going to create a generic function called recover, and this is going to take two parameters. First one's going to be the mode, and the second one's going to be the email address. Oops. So the first one, like I said, is going to be the mode. We're going to send the mode to this function, and then we're going to send the email address. If the mode's username, then we send an email off saying here's your username. If it's the password, we do something else, but we'll be doing that in another part. So in the next part of the video, we're going to be looking at creating this recover function and another function that we're going to depend on, and then we're going to tell the user that their username has been sent, and we're also going to obviously check this by email as well.